abomination magic, bard magic, living in a titan, glyphs. These are some of the examples of the amazing world building featured in The Owl House. The Owl House is a show with so many amazing elements, but one of the best parts of the show has to be its world building. Now, world building in fantasy is one of the most important parts for me. Fantasy is supposed to take place in worlds different from ours, so to set them up in a way which is consistent and interesting is very important. Many times a world will feel like that same medieval setting we've seen 1,000 times, or the magic will feel dry, uninteresting, consisting of shooting different colored blasts at enemies. But in the Owl House, none of that is present. In the world of the Owl House, the story takes place in the Boiling Isles, and we quickly find out that the Boiling Isles is actually the corpse of a dead titan. That element adds some very interesting lore to the story, but it's also an element which is made a part of the story where Emperor Blalos claims to communicate with the Titan. The fact that they live on a corpse isn't just some throwaway line, but a key part of the story, even with elements like Titan's blood or King's father. And the world of the Boiling Isles is very interesting. The aesthetic of the world isn't like other fantasy worlds. Most fantasy books I've read are a mirrored version of some certain country or phase in their history. In the Owl House, the world doesn't really take inspiration from our human history. It has towns and a few small cities. It has inspiration from modern tech, but there's no one time period or country it takes inspiration from. The best I could describe it is a different path of evolution. It represents aspects of different human societies. It has its own economy, schools, government, but it isn't the same. We have things like covens, magic, and demons, which has made the development of history different from humans, and it makes it feel like a possible world that feels fleshed out, but also its own thing, which is just not a copy of the human world. Another thing is that the Owl House has a lot of lore and a lot of history. Like I mentioned with the Titan, there was a lot of effort put into making the story feel fleshed out and making it feel like a real place. The story has so much interesting lore, and I would love to get more in the future content, whether it's spin offs or books or a Disney Plus series. We could get a lot of interesting details, but also hints, which some will pay off, but I feel like others won't, which is sad. But it all feels planned out like an intricate puzzle that we've only gotten a piece of. What's the deal with Collector? What's the deal with the Titan of the Boiling Isles? And when are we getting a Philip spin-off show? We need it. Having all these details isn't necessary, but it makes the world feel real, and the information I seek, I feel like it does exist, and because of that, it feels like the world exists. Making it feel real, though, makes it feel like there really is another dimension of witches and demons where you can practice magic. The world has so many interesting creatures which aren't just your normal fantasy tropes. Here we have things like the echo mice, for example. Mice which eat books and then reproduce their knowledge that were in the pages. Another thing I really like about this story is the magic system that we get. It doesn't feel like any other magic system I've seen. Even the most fun magic system I have seen with tons of random spell often just resorts to random color blasts in combat, and that feels dull. In the Owl House, magic works a lot differently. Here, there are different branches of magic: bard magic, abomination, illusion, plants, healing, potions, etc. While many of those are systems that we get in normal fantasy, like plants, potions, healing, this world also invents so many new types of magic. Bard magic, oh my god, it's so interesting. It's basically the manipulation of the elements around you through using magic, through playing instruments. Abomination magic is used in so many cool ways. It's the manipulation of a purplish goo slime thing. It can be used to make bodyguards, mechs, jetpacks, handcuffs, shields, and a bunch of other stuff. Being a goo, it can be reshaped, and it's so creative because you can't just punch through it. Need to be slow, and it's interesting. Glyphs is also another interesting system of magic. The idea of having four basic elements of magic, which we've seen before, but then combining them to give different effects is such an interesting concept, which provides progression and loses frights from the start of the show to the end, where you have her basic. She starts off with the ice, I think, and then the plants, and then you start to see the mixing, and it just provides, like I said, a real nice progression as the show goes along. And also, the magic is used very well. I can't think of one time where we get random magic blasts. In fights, some characters are controlling plants, others are making trippy, crazy illusions using abominations, and then you have Luz with her vines and her ice. The fights are a feast for the eyes, but with each character's different abilities, it provides so that you know what each character is doing in a fight. It provides for great combos, and it makes certain characters more or less useful in certain scenarios. Here we have a perfect magic system which is diverse, interesting, and well utilized in the story, so it makes interesting aspects of the system instead of using bland streams of color. I think why the world building here is so striking is because it's so unique. The world that the stories take place in is like nothing ever seen before. The animals that inhabit the world are original, and the magic is utilized creatively and just is something unique. That is what fantasy should be, in my opinion. Strange worlds which have elements different from ours, but once you learn the system, it makes a lot of sense. It should be a mirror of our life, but unique, but also consistent. Anyways, though, that's all I have to say. If you want to see my review of the Owl House where I dress up as Hootie and rap at the end, and then after that, check out this video. Make sure to subscribe to see more videos about the Owl House. I may be addicted, and I need to talk about it more, and we're getting really close to the season finale, the show finale, so, you know, I'm going to be here, and I won't be dressed up as Ida next time. I'm sure you could tell. Wow, great Ida costume, Gabriel. Yeah, I have more costumes like this on my channel. Bye.